I woke up because the dark was leaking light, not moonlight, not a street lamp, glow filtered through curtains. This was a hard, straight line of white cutting across my living room carpet, bright enough to stab straight through my skull. My head felt like it had been packed with cotton and glass shards. Every pulse a slow explosion behind my eyes. The taste in my mouth was sour and metallic, champagne and regret, and my tongue felt too big for my teeth. For a few seconds, I didn't understand where I was. The couch beneath me was unfamiliar. In that way familiar things become when you wake up wrong. Too soft, too close. The fabric rough against my bare forearm. The room smelled like stale perfume and cold pizza. My phone buzzed somewhere nearby, vibrating weakly, like it was tired too. I squeezed my eyes shut, hoping the light would go away. It didn't. I opened them again, more carefully this time, and followed the beam to its source. The front door. It was open, not wide, just enough. A narrow crack, maybe 2 inches, spilling the hallway light straight into my living room like a blade. The deadbolt was unlocked. I knew that instantly, not because I could see it, but because my stomach dropped with the certainty of someone realizing they forgot something vital. A stove left on, a child left behind. The memory came back in pieces, slow and ugly, laughing too loud, counting down with strangers, someone hugging me too tightly, smelling like beer and cologne, an Uber ride where the city lights smeared together like wet paint. Me fumbling with my keys, dropping them once, swearing under my breath. The door opening, and then nothing. I didn't lock it, I whispered. My voice cracked and dry. Saying it out loud made it real. I pushed myself up on one elbow, the room tilting violently in response. Nausea surged, hot and immediate. I froze, breathing shallowly, until it receded just enough for me to think again. The light from the door seemed brighter now, harsher, as if it had noticed me noticing it. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. At first, I thought it was my heartbeat echoing in my ears. A dull, rhythmic thump, slow and deliberate. But then there was a scrape. Rubber against tile. A sound that didn't belong inside my body. Someone was inside my house. My thoughts scattered instantly, panic shredding them into useless fragments. Call the police. Scream. Run. All of them collided and canceled each other out, leaving me frozen, half sitting on the couch. My pulse hammering so hard I was sure it had a sound. The footsteps came again, closer now. Careful, unhurried. They think no one's home. A calm, traitorous voice in my head observed. That voice sounded like me on a good day, rational and detached, the part that paid bills on time and remembered to lock doors. That part of me was very far away now. Another voice answered it, louder, shaking. You're drunk. You're slow. You can't fight anyone. The footsteps stopped. I slid off the couch and onto the floor without standing, my movements clumsy and too loud in my own ears. The carpet fibers pressed into my palms, grounding and scratchy. I crawled, inch by inch, my head screaming with every shift in position. The couch was heavy, low-backed, one of those modern things that looks nice and hides nothing. I pressed myself flat behind it, my cheek against the floor, breathing through my mouth to keep from gagging. From here, all I could see were shoes. Dark sneakers, one pair, then another. 2 people. They moved through my living room with the confidence of people who didn't expect resistance. A drawer slid open, the muted clink of metal keys. Maybe. A soft laugh, male, low and amused. Check the bedroom, one of them said, his voice casual, almost bored. Yea, the other replied. Grab whatever's easy. Their words landed inside me like weights. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't someone at the wrong door, confused and apologetic. They were here to take things, my space. My heartbeat started to speed up, thudding so hard I pressed my fist against my chest, terrified they'd hear it. The room seemed to shrink around that sound, every other noise fading, until it was just that relentless drum and the faint whisper of fabric as one of them brushed past the couch. He was close, close enough that I could see the dirt caked into the grooves of his shoe sole, close enough that I could smell him, cold air, sweat, something sharp like cigarettes. My vision swam. The edges of the room blurred, then sharpened again, snapping into horrible clarity. I could see the frayed thread on the couch seam inches from my face, a crumb, a faint stain I'd never noticed before. The other man walked away, his footsteps retreating down the hallway. A door opened, another drawer. The one near me stayed. He shifted his weight, sneakers squeaking softly. I held my breath, lungs burning almost immediately. My head pounded in time with my heart now, each beat sending a spike of pain behind my eyes. I wanted to curl into myself, to disappear into the floor. Instead, he leaned forward. I knew it before I saw it. The change in air pressure, the way the light dimmed slightly as his body blocked it. His hand appeared on the top edge of the couch, fingers splayed, dirty nails, a faint tremor. Slowly, deliberately, he bent at the waist. His head came into view, upside down, peering over the back of the couch. The world went silent, not quiet, empty, as if someone had reached into the room and pulled the sound out by the roots. No traffic, no wind, no distant sirens. Even my heartbeat seemed to pause, suspended in that impossible stillness. All I could see was his face, or part of it. The rest was swallowed by shadow, his features smeared and indistinct, like my eyes couldn't quite agree on what they were seeing. His gaze swept the space behind the couch, slow and methodical. I stared back at him, my eyes wide, unblinking. "Please don't see me. Please don't see me." He frowned slightly, a crease forming between his brows. For one horrifying second, I was sure he knew, that he was staring right at me, at the terror stretched across my face, at the way my body was trembling so hard, it felt like it might lift off the floor. Then he straightened. The sound rushed back all at once. Blood roaring in my ears, the hum of electricity in the walls, the distant wail of a siren far away. He let out a breath that sounded almost like a sigh. "Nothing," he called. "Probably empty." My vision blurred as tears spilled over, hot and silent. I pressed my forehead into the carpet, biting down on my lips so hard I tasted blood. The rest passed in fragments. Footsteps moving away, a bag unzipping, the soft thunk of my laptop being dropped inside, one of them swearing quietly when something didn't fit, drawers opening and closing, cabinets, time stretched, warped by fear and alcohol and adrenaline. Minutes felt like hours. Every sound made my muscles tense, ready to bolt, despite knowing I couldn't outrun anyone in this state. Finally, the front door creaked again. Light flooded the room once more, then vanished as it closed. The lock clicked, not the deadbolt, just the handle. Their footsteps faded into the night. I didn't move. I lay there shaking, for a long time after they were gone, waiting for the sound of the door opening again, waiting for laughter, waiting for hands on my ankles, dragging me out from behind the couch. When I finally crawled far enough to see the door, it was closed. The streak of light was gone. The house felt cavernous, hollowed out by what had passed through it. I reached for my phone with numb fingers and dialed 911. When the dispatcher answered, her voice calm and steady, I broke. My voice dissolved into sobs. I think someone was just in my house. As I waited for the police, wrapped in a blanket I didn't remember grabbing. I kept seeing his face, upside down over the couch, kept hearing that vacuum of silence, that moment where the world had balanced on whether or not he looked a few inches lower. They told me later that the intruders were never caught, that nothing like this ever feels random afterward, even if it is. But sometimes, late at night, when my house is quiet and the lights are off, I lie on my couch and stare at the front door, and I imagine that thin line of light creeping back across the floor, cutting the dark open again. The first knock came on a Tuesday afternoon, soft enough that I almost ignored it, but deliberate enough that my body reacted before my mind did. I had been standing at the kitchen counter, peeling an orange, the scent of citrus, sharp and clean in the quiet house. The sound didn't belong to anything else. The dryer wasn't running. No neighbors were slamming doors. No car backfired on the street. It was a knuckle on wood. 3 taps, a pause, then 2 more, closer together, like the person on the other side was thinking. I wiped my hands on a paper towel and didn't move. I don't know why. There was no fear yet, not exactly, just a sudden stillness, like the house itself was listening with me. The second knock was louder. I walked to the front door slowly, my bare feet sticking slightly to the hardwood. Through the peephole, The world bent and curved. The man standing on my porch looked taller than he probably was, his face stretched subtly at the edges, like it was being viewed through water. He had thinning dark hair combed straight back, a lined forehead, and a mouth that rested too close to a smile without ever fully committing. He leaned in when he realized someone was there. I didn't open the door. "Hi," he said, cheerful, casual. "I'm just checking." The words didn't land right. Checking what? Checking on whom? His eyes flicked slightly to the left, then the right, like he was scanning the street behind me, even though he couldn't see through the door. "Checking," I said, keeping my voice neutral. I hated how small it sounded in my own ears. "Yeah," he said, "just checking." Another pause. He waited for me to fill the silence. I didn't. After a moment, he laughed softly, like I'd missed a joke. "Neighborhood thing, you know, making sure everything's okay." "I'm fine," I said. "Thanks." There was another second where his smile didn't move, but something else in his face shifted. His eyes, maybe. Then he stepped back. "All right," he said easily. "Have a good one." I watched through the peephole as he walked down the steps, hands in his pockets. Unhurried, he didn't look back. I told myself it was nothing. A canvasser, a bored neighbor, someone who'd knocked on the wrong door and didn't want to admit it. I went back to the kitchen, finished peeling the orange, and ate it standing up. The house felt normal again, too normal. I texted my sister a picture of the half-empty bowl and wrote, "Your oranges are still alive. Florida better be worth it." She replied with a beach emoji and a voice note, full of wind and laughter. That night, I locked the doors out of habit. The second knock came the next evening, right as the sun was sinking low enough to throw long shadows across the living room walls. This time, it wasn't tentative, it was confident. 3 sharp knocks in quick succession. I didn't bother asking who it was I already knew. Through the peephole, his face warped again, the curve of the lens exaggerating his features. He stood closer this time, too close. I could see the texture of his skin, the faint stubble along his jaw, the way his eyes didn't quite settle. "Oh," he said when he saw me looking. "Hey, you." I didn't respond. "I forgot to ask yesterday," he went on. "You here by yourself?" My stomach tightened. Why? He lifted one shoulder in a shrug. "Just making conversation." "I'm busy," I said. "Yeah, I get that." He nodded, like we were agreeing on something together. "I won't take long." Silence stretched between us. I could hear my own breathing, the faint hum of the refrigerator behind me. I said, "I'm busy," I repeated. His smile thinned. All right. He took a step back, holding his hands up. Didn't mean anything by it. As he walked away, he glanced back once, quick and sharp. The look wasn't angry. It was curious. That night, I dreamed someone was walking through the house, not touching anything, just learning the layout. I woke up with my heart racing, the impression of footsteps still echoing in my ears. The third visit didn't involve knocking. It was late past midnight, when the sound dragged me out of sleep. A faint rasping noise, like something rough being pulled slowly across wood. I lay still, listening, my mind scrambling for something ordinary it could be. A branch, a raccoon. Wind, but it moved. The sound traveled, inch by inch, from one side of the house to the other. I slid out of bed and crept to the window, careful not to let the blinds move. Outside, the yard was a dark wash of shadow and moonlight. The bushes along the side of the house shivered slightly, though there was no wind. Then I heard it again, scritch. It was coming from the siding. I backed away from the window, my pulse thudding in my throat. The sound continued, slow and deliberate, like someone dragging fingernails along the wall, feeling for something. I didn't sleep after that. When the noise finally stopped, I sat on the bed until dawn, wrapped in a blanket that smelled like detergent and fear. In the morning, I walked the perimeter of the house with my phone in my hand. There were faint marks on the siding near the back corner, thin, pale scratches, like someone had tested the surface with a key. I told myself it could still be nothing. Vandalism, kids, an animal. I didn't believe it. By the 4th day, the house felt different. Smaller, like the walls had shifted inward while I wasn't looking. Every sound had weight now. The click of the thermostat, the whisper of air through the vents. I jumped when my phone rang. It was him again that evening. This time, when I looked through the peephole, he He was standing farther back, hands clasped in front of him. His face was calm, almost solemn. "Hey," he said softly. "I think something might be wrong." I didn't answer. "I heard noises around here last night," he continued. "Thought maybe someone was messing with your place." My fingers curled into fists at my sides. "I didn't ask for help." "No," he said gently. "But I'd feel bad if I didn't say something." I stared at him, my reflection faint in the glass. "You need to leave." For a moment, he didn't move. His eyes flicked toward the side of the house. Then, back to the door. "You sure you're okay in there?" he asked. "Yes. All right," he said. "If you change your mind." He didn't finish the sentence. He just turned and walked away. That night, the scratching came back, louder this time, closer to the windows. I heard it circle the house, unbroken, like he was tracing it, mapping it. I called my sister with shaking hands. "Something's wrong," I said as soon as she answered. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice muffled by music in the background. I told her everything, the knocking, the man, the scratches. There was a long pause on the other end. "You need to call the police," she said finally. "I don't have proof," I whispered. "You have a man stalking you," she said sharply. "That's proof enough." The next knock came before I could dial. It was violent, sudden. The sound exploded through the house, rattling the door in its frame. "Help," a man's voice groaned. "Please." My blood ran cold. "I'm hurt," he said, slurring the words just enough to sound convincing. "I fell. I can't get up." I moved to the peephole on instinct, dread pooling in my stomach. He was on his knees now, one hand braced against the door. His face was twisted in pain, eyes squeezed shut. "Please," he said again. "Just open the door." I stayed silent. The knocking started again, frantic now, both fists pounding. "I know you're in there," he snapped, the pain vanishing from his voice. "I just need help." I backed away, my phone clutched to my chest, and finally dialed 911. While it rang, I heard him stand. His shadow stretched under the door, long and distorted. "You should have opened it," he said quietly. Then there was nothing. By the time the police arrived, the porch was empty. They took a report, walked the yard, photographed the scratches. One of them gave me a look that was meant to be reassuring but wasn't. "He's gone," he said. "For now." That night after they left, I sat on the couch with every light on, staring at the front door. Sometime near dawn, I thought I heard a soft knock. I didn't move. I don't know if it was real. I don't know if he ever came back. But sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet and the air feels heavy, I swear I can hear someone outside, moving slowly along the walls, checking. The first thing that felt wrong was not the sound. It was the smell. It slid into the living room ahead of my awareness, thin and sour, catching in the back of my throat before my eyes ever landed on Hazel. Musky, bitter, not rot, not trash. Something animal and urgent, the kind of scent that comes from a body that believes it's about to die. The kind of smell a creature leaves behind when fear overwhelms control. Hazel sat in the center of the rug, spine locked straight, tail clamped so hard between her legs it disappeared into her fur. She didn't blink. She didn't breathe normally. Every few seconds, the fur along her shoulders lifted in uneven waves, shedding loose strands that clung to the carpet as if she were unraveling. Her eyes were pinned to the back door. "Hayes," my voice came out too soft, too careful. "What are you doing?" She didn't look at me. The television murmured behind us, laugh track, canned applause. But the room felt wrong, like the sound didn't belong anymore. I muted it. The silence that followed was so abrupt it rang in my ears. The house settled, refrigerator hum, pipes ticking faintly inside the walls. Outside, something brushed the fence. Wind. Probably. It sounded too deliberate. Hazel's chest vibrated with a low sound that wasn't a growl the way I knew it. It came from deep in her body, wet and resonant, traveling through the floor into my feet. Her lips lifted just enough to show teeth. Saliva darkened the rug beneath her mouth. I stood slowly. The smell intensified as I moved, thickening in the air. Fear has weight when it's fresh. I checked the back door. Locked. Deadbolt set. The glass reflected my face back at me, drawn, uncertain, trying to look composed. The porch light cast its usual dull yellow square across the yard. Empty grass, fence, the darker suggestion of trees beyond. Nothing visible. "Okay," I said quietly. "Okay, you're fine." Hazel wasn't. I tried everything treat jar. Leash, her favorite squeaky toy, squeezed until it shrieked. She didn't flinch. I opened the front door to let in air. She dug her nails into the floor and leaned backward, eyes never leaving the back of the house. That was when the unease settled into my chest properly. Not a jump of fear, a slow, heavy certainty. Hazel did not do this. She didn't bark at shadows or freeze at noises. She reacted like this when thunder cracked directly overhead, when she was cornered, when escape was impossible. I locked up again, checked windows, drew blinds. The smell lingered, faint but persistent, like residue that refused to dissipate. By the time I went to bed, Hazel lay at my feet, rigid, eyes open. I left the bedroom door cracked out of habit, a thin line of hallway light cutting across the carpet. I told myself the light would help if I woke up. I told myself a lot of things. Sleep came in fragments. Something pulled me awake. No noise, no dream, just the sudden awareness that the air had changed. My eyes opened to darkness. The bedroom door stood wide open. Cold air washed over me. The warmth trapped beneath the duvet was gone, sucked clean out, leaving the fabric icy against my skin. The smell, musky, bitter, lingered faintly, as if someone had stood in the doorway for a long time. The door had been open for a while. "Hazel," I whispered. "Nothing." I sat up. The bed was empty. My phone flared to life in my hand. The flashlight carved a narrow cone through the dark, a tunnel that erased everything outside it. Walls appeared and vanished as my hand shook. The hallway felt longer than it ever had before. Doors yawned open on either side, their rooms swallowed by shadow. The air was colder here, disturbed, as if it hadn't settled yet. "Hazel," I said, louder. My voice fell flat, absorbed by the house. The kitchen emerged piece by piece. Counter edge, sink, chair legs. The underside of the table, Hazel crouched beneath it, pressed so far back her spine touched the wall. Her fur stood in erratic patches now, shedding heavily, clumps scattered across the tile. Her teeth chattered softly, rapid clicks that scraped along my nerves. Her eyes were not on me. They were fixed past the flashlight beam, past my shoulder, into the dark corner behind me. The smell hit harder here, overwhelming. The stench of a cornered animal. "Hey," I murmured, lowering myself slowly. "It's okay, I'm here." She didn't move. The flashlight drifted, pulled by something I didn't want to acknowledge, toward the back door. It stood wide open. Cold night air poured in. Damp earth, leaves, something else I couldn't place. On the tile between the door and the table, a dark smear caught the light. A wet footprint, half-formed, as if someone had stepped inside and stopped. Not just opened the door, walked in. Hazel's growl rose. Then I heard it too, a low sound directly behind me. Familiar, wrong. I looked down at Hazel. Her mouth was clamped shut. The sound continued. I didn't turn around. I lunged forward, grabbed Hazel by the collar, and pulled her into my chest. Her body locked around my arm, claws digging in. We ran. The front door flew open. Porch light exploded into my eyes. My fists hammered my neighbor's door until it burst inward, and hands dragged us inside. Behind us, my house sat dark and open, waiting. I didn't sleep after that. I sat on my neighbor's couch, wrapped in a blanket that smelled like laundry detergent and old coffee. Hazel pressed into my side so hard her ribs left marks on my arm. She didn't stop trembling for hours. The police came. They walked my house with flashlights and careful voices. They found the door. The footprint, nothing else. No signs of forced entry. No fingerprints they could see. No explanation that settled anything. "It could have been the wind," one of them said, not meeting my eyes. I nodded. I let them leave. I didn't go back that night. The next day, sunlight made the house look ordinary again, harmless. But the smell lingered faintly in the kitchen, clinging to the air like memory. Hazel refused to enter that room. She planted herself in the hallway and shook. I moved out a week later. Sometimes late at night, Hazel still lifts her head and stares at doors that aren't there anymore.